When an animation studio has amassed a long list of movies to their credit, some will fly under the radar more than others, but hopefully still gain a small following that finds them underrated. One of my favorite DreamWorks Animation titles is B-Movie, which I find is a lot smarter than people give it credit for. The idea, like most others, came out of something small. Jerry Seinfeld was having lunch with Steven Spielberg and half-jokingly suggested somebody should make a film about bees and call it B-Movie. Spielberg loved it, and one call to Jeffrey Katzenberg later, the project was up and running. If you're familiar with Jerry Seinfeld's stand-up comedy, you'll know he's a man who likes to take the simple minutiae of life and look into why we do things in society. With bees, he found it interesting how perfectly run this civilization is, and they churn out honey on a regular basis and have such small lifespans in contrast to our world, which is a tad more messy. The focus of B-Movie is Barry Benson, that lone bee who doesn't want to be stuck with the same task for the rest of his life, in a clever take on The Graduate. Not surprisingly, Seinfeld portrays him and gives him his usual personality, and he does a great job of injecting his spirit and sense of humor into Barry. His interactions with his family and friends is also very Seinfeldian. He has his parents and best pal Adam, who confused by his not being satisfied with his place in the hive and befriending a human woman, and they both have some excellent chemistry together. It also gives an interesting insight into what would happen if an insect and a human had a face-to-face conversation. And of course, there's the main plot, which serves as a great satire on the celebrity court case and the constant, ridiculous lawsuits that end up going in front of a jury. Upon finding out humans eat honey, Barry sues the human race, and it leads to a lot of great observational humor, in particular when he brings in the various witnesses. The bee world is also quite impressively put together. The way that society is presented gives the bees a real personality and charm. Everybody is given the appropriate assignment, whether they're the pollen jocks or the scientists experimenting with flying equipment. Production designer Alex McDowell, most known for dark films like Fight Club, Minority Report, and Watchmen, was given a more colorful palette to work from, and he did a splendid job at creating the beehive. Even little things like making car rides into an amusement park attraction were cleverly handled. In contrast, the outside world is more normal and typical looking, which fits. They even thought about what happens to bees in the rain, or when they sting, to enhance the story. Interesting enough, around the time B-Movie was released, reports came out about honey shortages and bees facing extinction, and this film tackled the subject very well. It tied in nicely with a theme about, while it is important to be allowed to run free and live your life, parts of society are structured for a reason. Even little beings like insects are important to survive, and we should not take bees for granted. People seem to turn their nose up when environmentalism plays a role in the film's plot, but it's important to have these messages in there, and B-Movie does it masterfully. The animation is also spectacular. The flying scenes are amazing to witness, especially when combined with Rupert Gregson-Williams' amazing score. My favorite scene in B-Movie is when Barry finally flies out of the hive for the first time, and we see him going through Central Park. You get the same sense of wonder and awe that Barry does. It's not simply eye candy, but a way to make us sympathize and relate to him. Storyboard artist Nasos Vakelis was responsible for a number of the flying scenes and earned a very well-deserved Annie Award nomination for his work on them. The character designs on the bees are nicely simplistic, with the use of yellows and blacks done very nicely through the computer animation. Unlike, say, Shark Tale, they also didn't make Barry and the other bees look like their voice actors. So while, yes, that is clearly Jerry Seinfeld doing the voice, I saw Barry, and not him riffing in the recording studio. Though, of course, he does wear Seinfeld's trademark sneakers. I will say the designs of the humans do look a little off, but I think DreamWorks did not really nail the look of humans in their CG features until How to Train Your Dragon. In conclusion, I think B-Movie is a very funny and very smart little animated film that I think deserves another look. As somebody who's a fan of Jerry Seinfeld's comedy, and somebody who finds the insect world and its many inhabitants fascinating, it definitely appeals to me. See you next time.